So, Cristiano, for today's episode of Layout Lessons, we're going to be zooming out a little bit and thinking a bit more deeply, trying to get an understanding for the design principles behind a really successful floor plan design. So, what I'd really like to do is kind of do a bit of a deeper dive with you talking us through what are the kind of steps and the thinking that you go through from looking at an initial floor plan all the way through to reaching a point where you've got an initial result design that you think is good enough to kind of continue the conversation and show clients and the rest of the team. So, as you arrive to this floor plan that we're looking at the moment, what are the first things that come to your mind in terms of what's important to start thinking about?
Thank you, Theo. First of all, it's very interesting to analyze the floor. So the first thing that you do when you see a floor, you start to think on how does it work. So first of all, you see, for example, the way layout presents floors is very simple. So every symbol here is very easy to recognize. So for example, I know this is the entrance with the 8 elevators over here. So this part here will be the more social, where people enter. So here I will have to think about a social space in conjunction with the inputs from the client. So this area will have to have a certain behavior in comparison with the rest. But then, for example, I know that this side of the building here is the one that is with a nice view. So depending on the client's request, for example, this could be the most social area where people gather to have this beautiful view. Or, for example, you have clients that want to have the boardroom, where this view is actually meant to explain clients the beauty of this view while they are, for example, in a beautiful boardroom. So this corner here will be also having some special treatment. And then depending, of course, again, with in matching the conversation with the client's request, we can actually create spaces that align with this request within the space. So I will start to focus on these elements while I'm designing.
How do you start to think about kind of corridors and circulation? There's obviously something already put onto this floor plan, but how do you assess that and be able to work out if you think that's a good starting place?
So when we start, the layout has a corridor because, for example, it has been placed there because it's maybe the existing condition. So we want to consider, first of all, what is the existing condition of the building. This saves a lot of money when it comes to change, for example, the HVAC system, because traditionally, the HVAC system is placed on top of the corridors. In this way, we try to save and optimize the spaces even with this condition. Of course, in layout, you can change, activate the corridors, change the corridors positioning. I can draw new corridors, I can delete them, I can change them. Of course, in this case, I'm okay with this type of corridor, but I can change even creating them more organic. So create more organic shapes to adjust to their request. And for example, every client will have certain requests of styling of space. And based on that, I develop a concept that works for any type of combination. In this case, I'm okay starting from this one.
Got you. Okay, so once you've kind of read the building, you've started to plan out initial corridors, initial circulation routes that you think might be a good start. I suppose you then want to start kind of designing out the functions and the zones of the space.
Yes, so I will start inputting the preferences. So for example, I have here the request, X amount of closed office. In this case, I have 10 rooms for 2 people, 2 rooms of certain dimensions, breakout spaces. So I can define these requirements, and I can also specify the type of desk. And all of them are customized. Let's say these are the values that I want to use. I can just apply and then I quickly click on generate. Additionally, this process of thinking where to place things, it's a part of the architectural process. So as an architect, I'm trained and spend time thinking before even starting to place furniture in the floor, where to place what. The beauty of layout, the advantage of layout is like I can do this process while I'm talking or while I'm thinking and designing. This allows me to do a lot faster processes and generate options. For example, I can see from these initial stages in which I can see, I have here on the top, for example, I can zoom in. I have, for example, the options here with the desks. So the closed offices that are outside. There are clients that may request that, or clients that may request, for example, to have them concentrated at the center part of the office. So I can choose where to start from.
It's an interesting question there, because how do you decide, what spaces go near the windows and what spaces go in the middle of the floor plate? Is there kind of a rule of thumb for this?
So it's not a rule of thumb. It's also becoming is an element that is quite important to decide together with the client. If a client wants the private offices to be concentrated in the center of the office, of course, I will choose that option to start with. and then I can customize and adjust while I'm designing. So in this case, I start from this one where I can see all the rooms are concentrated here. As I said before, this area should be the more social one. I can, for example, let's say I want to split these rooms because I prefer to optimize them here. And I can make this area to be the social one. So I can select, I can split, I can maybe make a smaller room like this space here will become the reception.
And that's because of where the lifts are and where people are going to be riding onto the floor plate.
Absolutely. Like this one is part of the flow. So in reality, I'm continuing designing. I can do, for example, seating, lounge. I convert all this area to be lounges, merge, and refresh. And of course, I don't want to have only this one. I want to just do groups and then, for example, lounge, and then specify, for example, different types. I don't like this furniture at all. I just want to customize it. So for example, I can drag this one here. And for example, I can have another one here. Or for example, make a bit more space. This group here, I can move it on the side. This one, I can move it like this. And then drag and drop this one here. So I can customize the space to get to a point in which I am happy with the first generation. And then I can select these two areas that are marked and freeze.
This is requiring a bit of a rework in terms of how you would normally approach this kind of work, because without layout, you'd be doing some sketches, you'd be still trying to think about zoning and entrances, yet you've kind of supercharged yourself to this point where you're already thinking about the layouts of furniture because you've already been able to get to that starting point really quickly.
Absolutely. Of course, it is not the standard way of approaching design. So normally, like you would have a lot of more thinking before starting to work. In reality, layout supercharges you, like you defined. So you can, for example, be one step ahead in this process where you can customize and decide how you want to organize spaces. So in this way, it is very different than the standard process, but at the same time, it gives you the power to control all of this. That's why layout increases the speed once you learn how to use it. And you luckily is a process that is fairly quick to learn. So because of that, most of our clients are using this to be just increasing their speed of access to this solution. So I've marked this area and I froze them. I like also this area and this area here. And I like the private offices to be here. I can freeze and just click on regenerate. I can just funnel my design down from a generic one where I mark the parts that I like to one step below where I can pretty much get three new options based on that initial design. So I don't have to do everything from scratch.
So you've essentially kind of set a few areas which you think are good central points of the design, which you're happy with, and now you're going to iterate through, let layout give you some more options to help you with the brainstorming process to be able to continue that design evolution.
Absolutely, yes. So the full principle is this one. I want to start from an initial condition and then just iterate and build on top of it. So I can customize. I think I need to have some focus areas between every single group of rows, for example. So let's say I can break it here. I have this row here. I want to have space. I want this one to be a more focus area.
I'm thinking about kind of density and how the space will actually feel in reality.
Absolutely, yes. So I want to customize the space to make it more like usable from the final user, from the end users. So I decide I want to add some informal tables here where people can gather. So I can just customize this here. This allows the users to actually change the density of the space, not making it a very dense environment, but make it more like functional.
And I guess the beauty of layout here is as you're going through and you're changing the density and you're making alterations to the floor, obviously all of the calculations are live, correct? So all of the desk counts, the costs, the carbon, as you're making changes, all of that's updating in live based on each design.
So constantly, like every time I make a change, for example, right now I'm removing this row. You can see 158 people. And also the cost, I remove them and automatically everything is updated. This allows me to constantly make updates and make it more feasible for me to actually improve the space.
Okay, so you've now chosen a few things you think work really well. You've iterated across a few designs. You have the right kind of density mix. What are the kind of checks that you make when you're looking at the floor to be able to think that, okay, have I definitely got this right? Am I missing anything?
First of all, like I need to double check with what was the initial request from the client and also what was the output. here in this input of the zones, apart from the pie chart that shows, of course, the targets, I could have some specific percentages as a target to reach. But then I can see also a breakdown on the zone, and the zone required shows a list of meeting rooms and other type of spaces that were required, like small breakout spaces or medium breakout spaces. These are all provided. And of course, you can provide more because depending on the space and moving things and optimize them, you can see that there are more spaces than what was requested.
So you're making sure that you've covered off the client's kind of core brief, and then you're thinking, okay, what space do I have left to kind of improve the overall design?
And then, of course, this is a back and forth process. So I can get to this final stage in which I understand the space that works for me and fulfills all the requirements. And then I can just save the option, test C, for example. I can save this option and share this option to the client. And of course, get their feedback, their comments, and then funnel it down to be more detailed. It is quite fundamental. We learned during the years that most of people, I would say 70% of people, cannot understand the floor plans because simply it's not something that is obvious for everyone. So 3D allows you to create a more immersive experience for your client. So here I can double click and then jump in and visualize everything that I created, the boardroom over here, the lounge area, the plants, the dividers. So I can visualize everything and make sure that actually everyone is aligned so they can understand what is happening and how the space is organized. I don't need to actually distract people with certain type of characteristics. So I can, for example, just visualize zones. Mm-hmm. These zones will follow the pie chart colors. So in reality, you can even share this with a client explaining what to do and how to use the space.
This is a good example of a certain style to use whereby the materiality isn't distracting. It's all about space use.
The colors, of course, are just representing a space. It's not a specific material. That's why we have this clay model in white. Allows you not to distract too much about, I want this flooring to be in wood, this one to be in carpet. This gives you a bit of a better understanding of the space before starting to work in detail.
When you're introducing people to layout and its value proposition and how they should be using it as users, how do you kind of frame layout's purpose in the design phase?
Well, it's quite important to make people understand that the layout is here to augment your skills. Regardless if you're a designer or not, the goal is to give you a tool, a solution that helps you to speed up your mental process in creating a space and crafting it. So in this sense, the main goal is like to make people understand that this one is giving you the power to do faster your work and create better spaces. After that, of course, every person has their own way to use it and will find a way to improve their own work.
Okay, so it's all about supercharging the human.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Cristiano, for talking us through that.
Pleasure. Take care.